And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. As you can tell, I was in Boston on Monday, and even though the outcome of that game didn't quite go as I planned, still need to head out there and be there in the stands with other Met fans who made the trip out there. Showed up on TV. My mother texts me that I'm on TV, that I show up on TV, which I had a feeling sitting in a section made up entirely of Met fans at a road game. It was bound to happen. The cameras were about to catch that, and depending what area they got caught on, that section they got caught on camera, they probably was going to be seen on camera, and that was the case. And there was even footage of me in the living room grimace. I took the living room grimace to Boston.
Very nice.
But by the way, I don't know if you know that Met fan with the ESA that's always on Twitter. You know, Iggy Glizzy. You've seen him on Twitter.
Oh, the dog. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I actually met him and got a picture with the dog. He brought his dog with him.
Very nice. Very cool. Nice.
I have a soft spot for dogs, so I just had to get a picture with him, being in fact a Mets fan and a soft spot for dogs. And he gave out this little pin.
Really? Wow, that's pretty cool.
He handed this pin. Nice of him.
Nice.
Then I even bought. I also bought this little souvenir pin here from my trip to Boston. Bought this little
very cool. Very cool.
Commemorating that series I went to.
Mm-hmm.
What that?
Well, you mentioned that you got on the TV, and it was funny too because your mom texted you the first time that you were on TV, because you were actually on twice. You were on when your mom texted you earlier, and then I saw you on near the end of the game too. I believe it was even in the ninth inning. So I actually did grab both of your appearances on SNY. Let's take a quick look at them.
So Juan Soto with a green monster single.
There you are.
He looked.
They're trying to bring. I was bringing out the rally grimace.
Yeah, you bring out the rally grimace for that one. So hey, not too bad. You got on there. It shows you right there in the middle of all these Met fans, and you got you were dead center there more than anybody else.
yeah. And then I was trying to do like a rally cap thing. He figured. I says, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna go cap off, even if my hair is a little messed up because I'm wearing a hat, to try to see if it wills the Mets to the late in the game. But that didn't work out. But there was a shot of me holding up the grimace. As you'll see
we saw you in full effect in this one right here. And unfortunately, we didn't have the sound. But there you are, right there at Fenway Park with the grimace. You got your kind of rally cap on. And, man, they had that camera on you the whole freaking time.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, the main thing is you had a good time, right? Even though the Mets didn't win, they ended up losing 2 out of 3. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. But you had a good time, right?
Oh yeah, I had a great time. Maybe had a couple of beers, and stuff. By the way, I don't know if you noticed if you've been to Boston, if you noticed this little bar in like near Fenway called the Bleacher Bar, where if you go before the gates open, you could peek into the center field of Fenway Park. I don't know if you heard of that bar.
I have heard of it, but I haven't been to Fenway in probably 20 years, so it's been a long time.
But yeah, I did that, and while the Mets were warming up, Carlos Mendoza gave me a wave.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty neat. That was pretty neat that Carlos Mendoza waved at me.
Very cool. And by the way, shout out to our buddy PhD for hanging out with us again, talking about Bobo being on TV.
Yep. And I got back around like 2 a.m, maybe, or something like that. The bus arrived in Flushing because it was a round trip that departed right next to Citi Field. And I just took the train and got an Uber back from Woodside. But anyway, when I'm walking to the train station from where the little area by Citi Field where the bus dropped you off, right? Man, Citi field looks eerie at 2 a.m.
I could see that. That makes sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
Dan-
but yeah,
Dan,
I'm
do you
just
know what?
walking to the
Yeah.
I'm walking to the subway, then getting an Uber back, getting an Uber back at Woodside the rest of the way to my house because it's not near the train station. But yeah, that's what it took around a bus round trip from Flushing to Boston, and I had a bunch of hours to kill before the gates open. So I walked a little around the little area around the ballpark, maybe, and had a couple of beers at a bar.
Very cool. Very cool, Dan. Well, you were talking about the eeriness of City Field at night, and there was something else going on eerie in New York City last night, and it wasn't happening at City Field. Let's kick this show off for real, Dan. Now, talking about our really, really tough New York Knicks Game 1 loss
Oh,
to the Indiana Pacers. It was
that
just about it. Dan, this has to be one of the worst losses in franchise history. It just conjures up the image of Reggie and the Pacers of the 90s and all those series that just always seem to come down to situations like this where the Knicks are shooting themselves in the foot. They lose this game 138-135 in overtime. They blew a 14-point lead with 2.5 minutes left. Just unthinkable how they could have blown this one. Dan, what was your reaction to a disgusting loss?
Well, the quote, the lemon grab from Adventure Time, unacceptable! Unacceptable!
I'm sorry to anybody who's listening to this wearing headphones, but yes, you are correct, my friend. It was unacceptable.
Yeah, I think we need to sample that clip to give a clue to make sure to remind people that that's really what that character I was imitating sounded like.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. No doubt about it, buddy. But
voiced by the great Billy West, by the way.
That's funny. I didn't even know that, to be honest. Pretty cool. Shout out to Billy West. But yeah, man, I mean, just a disgusting loss for the Knicks. This was about as bad as it gets. The game started. It didn't really look too good right out of the gate, too, because if you were checking in early second quarter, the Pacers were shooting about 90%, and they just weren't missing. And, the Knicks were hanging in there and doing a good job. And then they finally found their footing. They took the lead near the end of the second quarter. Then, the first half, they had a couple-point lead. Third quarter, the Knicks really got out and running and got a pretty decent sized lead against the Pacers. Pacers, when there was 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, when there was 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it looked like the Pacers were just kind of mailing it in. It looked like they were done. And then out of nowhere, they just start hitting these shots. That kid Nesmith is just knocking them down. And a combination with, as our buddy PhD points out, maybe if the Knicks could hit some of their freaking free throws, it wouldn't have mattered in the end. But the free throws bite the Knicks in the ass, and just the clutch shooting of this, ridiculous Pacers team from last night sunk the Knicks in game 1. And not only that, they're terrible defense. I mean, how many times this postseason, and the answer is none, have we seen the Knicks give up 130 points? I think the most they'd given up prior to this was the 121 against Boston in their game 5 loss, I want to say. So, this defense has really been on top of it for most of the postseason. But boy, did they just get really knocked around in this game 1, and it shouldn't have even come down to that. But as Josh Hart even said after the game, the Knicks took their foot off the gas pedal, and that ended up really costing this team a pivotal game 1.
Yeah, once again, the Knicks just didn't know, had to have their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, which freaking done us in so many times during the regular season, and he just had to do that today. And man, I'm surprised I did not break the TV. That's how bad it was. Like I may have woke up the whole neighborhood with me yelling at the TV, and you saw what I pretty much said when you're fans of a team that wears orange and blue, there's going to be a lot of cursing at the cursing and nearly destroying your TV. And I
A
said,
lot of pain from these teams, no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's exactly what I described. And unfortunately for like both of us, we're both we're both Met fans, and we're both Knicks fans. Teams that wear, you guessed it, orange and blue. So
thank God we're not Islanders fans. We'd be in big trouble if we were Islanders fans.
I don't think we'd be alive if that was the case. I don't think we'd be alive.
You're probably right, man.
Yeah. I think our ladies would have been bitching about what happened to us because of that. If that was the case.
No doubt about it, buddy. And I mean, hey, you got to look at the facts. And right now, the Knicks just choked that game out. But the one thing too is we can't overreact too much to it. We can't go that. I mean, look, the Knicks should be absolutely dragged for losing a game like that. And Knicks fans have every right, just like me and you, to sit here and vent our frustrations the next day. But I also don't want to get caught up in the fact and saying that, oh, this is the end. They're going to lose now. This is the end of the series. It's only game one. And you know what? It's a good kick in the ass for the Knicks. Not that they needed it at this point, but hey, I guess, if you get a kick in the ass, you have to spin it around in some way. And that's what the Knicks got last night. So it's a wake-up call. You can't take this team lightly. This Pacers team is the best shooting team in the NBA playoffs this year so far. So the Knicks have to remember that. You have to play good defense. You can't let these lapses come in there. And if you get a big lead, you can't take your foot off the gas. You have to go out there and play like it's a tie game every single possession.
Yeah, exactly. They got to do that and take advantage of every turnover, especially in the fourth quarter. Like during a previous round, my mom was wondering, why am I not calmed down remember we're up by a lot in game 6 against the Celtics, and they says, I'm sorry, I can't calm down. It's the Knicks. It's our history. Our history with this team. You know how it is. I can't calm down. I can't calm down for a moment with any team wearing orange and blue.
It's true. Our old friend Jake Asman from ESPN Radio, who's a former guest of our show, you could check it out in our YouTube channel where we have all of our past shows uploaded there. You can check that out. Jake was a great guest for us a year or two ago when we had him on talking Jets, but he's also a big New York Knicks fan, and obviously working for ESPN Radio. He's got a front row seat there. And he was saying the same thing that you did, Dan, where basically, this is this type of situation the Knicks have gotten themselves in over and over and over again over the years. And hey, you just got to put this one in your rearview mirror. Try to learn from it, I guess. But, it's basically the thing that they always say the next day after a tough loss. You just got to flush it and move on. And that's the best way to deal with a tough loss like this. Now, if we're going to look at the bright side of what happened in game one, Jalen Brunson did go for 43 points, 5 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 35 points, 12 assists. If you have your top 2 offensive performers, which these 2 guys are for the Knicks right now, performing like this, then you're going to 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 win that game, especially with the way the Knicks usually play defense. But they end up losing this one last night. And, to waste the offensive performances that these 2 guys put on last night, Dan. And now, obviously, we know the numbers are slightly inflated because they did play the overtime as well. So they had 5 extra minutes there. But, still great games from both these guys, and they just got to keep it up. Karl Anthony Towns, for his career, averages over 30 points a game against the Pacers. So he's got to keep that up. He's got to be Jalen Brunson's wingman in this series for the Knicks to take this thing.
Yeah, exactly. And they got to keep going at it, and they have to win. Tomorrow is as close to must win as possible.
Yeah,
and they got to win tomorrow. That's all I gotta say is they must win tomorrow. There's gonna be a lot of cursing if they don't win tomorrow.
I'm with you on that, Dan. And just a couple other things about game one is you yeah.
Which by the way, because we're playing against Indiana, I will not be eating corn until the series ends. I will not be eating anything with corn.
Duly noted.
Specifically, corn grown in Indiana until this series ends.
Understandable. All right, my friend, I get it. I hear you. That makes sense, I guess. And when you look at the whole thing, though, Dan, it all started from these missed free throws. That's the thing that I point back to, where the Knicks could have sealed this game. You had OG Anunoby having a chance to seal this thing away, misses a free throw. Karl-Anthony Towns, the same thing. The most key moment of the game was him missing that free throw. Now we can throw all the praise we want on Towns, and he deserves a lot of it. He had a great game yesterday, and he's not the only reason they lost. But you know, I gotta say that I think they got to hit these free throws, man. That's the thing that kills you. You see the Knicks shoot themselves in the foot all the time. And one of the people in our chat right now, I think she's behind your you giving up corn for this series, Dan. So there you go. You got maybe she's gonna give up corn in solidarity with you. I guess we'll see what she says in the chat. But
yeah, exactly. And I said specifically corn grown in Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. That's true too. Also, hey, look who's hanging out in our chat. Our buddy Alvalanker. Hope you're doing good, buddy. Let's go Knicks. That was a really tough loss last night, but they were in the game and they had a chance to win. And he's 100% right. That's the thing too that I found to be a really, at least a good sign early on in the game last night. Where, as we talked about, these guys were freaking, shooting 90% in the first quarter. They were not missing. It was absurd the amount of shots they were hitting. I believe they hit their first 7 or 8 shots of the game. So they just weren't missing out of the gate. And the Knicks just hung in there and hung in there. They weren't getting greedy. They were going in the paint. They weren't, trying to throw up a 3 every time just to counteract what Indiana was doing. They were going in the paint. They were taking what was being given to them. And that's the only thing we can ask for, Dan. They have to go out there. And the main thing they have to remember now for game 2 is play better defense and hit your freaking free throws, right?
Yeah, exactly. They got to keep hitting the freaking free throws. No need to freaking pull a Shaquille O'Neal.
Exactly. And Mitchell Robinson, give him credit. He's been a little bit better lately, although he did have a couple of clunkers yesterday as well. But he's progressing. Hopefully, they say he works on his free throw more than anybody. So let's hope that shows or proves to be true as this series goes on. But what my overwhelming lying message is to Knicks fans is don't panic. Don't panic. It was not fun to watch that yesterday. I understand. It was painful. And it was pretty much like you knew it was going to happen before it even happened. That's the way it unfolded. But don't panic. It's only one game, and the Knicks can rebound. And, in fact, Dan, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say the Knicks are going to win the next 4 games now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely go for it. Yeah, I just have a feeling they will, and I will be. I meant from this point out, each milestone they accomplish in the playoffs, I'll be falling off my seat. Probably. And like I said, if we get the outcome we that Knicks fans have been waiting for ages, it might be a fainting outcome. The same, similar thing I've said with the Mets that it'd be like a fainting outcome. This would also be a fainting outcome. I can tell you that, and I can tell you, I hope Donovan's Pub in Woodside, Queens, is ready for all the drinking that's going to happen with me and you and Eastside Dave.
No doubt about it. All the Knicks fans.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the 3 of us. That's going to be really something that they're going to have to be ready for. Is the 3 of us in that bar? Especially
you got that right.
Especially Eastside Dave. You gotta remember
Yeah,
Eastside Dave at that bar.
yeah. Eastside Dave is going to be pumped up. No doubt about it. I mean, look, we all. It's been a long time since we saw the Knicks play a game as important as last night. 25 years, man. 25 years since the last time we played Indiana right here in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, let's just hope that the Knicks learn from this, and that's it. And also, as our buddy PhD points out, maybe no more threes from half court. Maybe, unless it's Karl Anthony Towns, because every once in a while he hits those ridiculous shots. So I guess everybody but him, I would agree with that. And all right, so with that, we know game 2 tomorrow night, Madison Square Garden, 8 p.m. Celtics, I was going to say. Pacers have a 1-0 lead. Knicks down 0-1. And as if you want to look real quick to the Western Conference, how things are going out there, the Oklahoma City Thunder currently lead 1-0, and the series resumes again tonight for game 2. So we'll see how that thing goes. But SGA right now, the best player on the Oklahoma City Thunder, won the NBA MVP award. So, it's not surprising that team is going deep into this season as well. And one last thing on the Knicks before we move on to some baseball talk as we shift gears here in a sec is fuck Tyrese Halliburton. Fuck you. We usually don't go out of our way to curse and go crazy on this, but fuck you, you fucking asshole, for doing the Reggie Miller choke. Eat shit, Tyrese Halliburton.
Yep.
There we go.
That is right. The old Stone Cold Steve Austin double bird.
The double bird. I like it, my friend. I like it a lot. So,
exactly.
Let's go.
I didn't restock my beer yet for Memorial Day weekend yet, but if I would have restocked my beer one day earlier than I'm going to, I would have done like the whole Stone Cold thing and done the whole beer thing.
Yeah. No, believe me. Hey, if the Knicks beat the Pacers, me and you should do that. The Stone Cold beer celebration. We'll meet up and have a beer celebration like that. And I'll tell you this much too. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dan, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, exactly. We could have a couple. There could be a picture of us drinking a couple of brown bag beers by the Jalen Brunson mural in Queens. They have it somewhere in the Jackson Heights, Queens. They have a mural of Jalen Brunson.
You're right. We can do that. That's true.
Yeah, there should be a picture of us having a couple of having a couple of brown bag beers by the Jalen Brunson mural.
No doubt about it, man. And speaking of Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, you better watch your ass, because you keep this shit up, Jalen Brunson's going to be kicking your ass at SummerSlam this year, because WWE is trying to rope those two guys into a match when they have SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium this summer.
Yep, exactly. And they'll be a little bit of a grudge with whoever's in charge of New Jersey Transit if New Jersey Transit screws up the transit situation like they did with that WrestleMania debacle. I'm sure you heard about what happened with that WrestleMania debacle a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that many times. You're right about how they botched that.
Yeah, exactly. New Jersey Transit probably didn't have enough people on staff after, I don't know, a thing that's going to get a lot of traffic on New Jersey Transit.
About 80,000 people, something crazy like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be a good number of that 80,000 that are going to want to get a train back to the city, back to New York. And they botched I heard they made some people wait inside the stadium, they were instructing people not to leave the stadium until, because of how crowded it was by the New Jersey Transit station. While they waited to have trains ready to go to pick up passengers. That's what I heard. That's what I heard happen. I myself had to wait a while for that train. By the way, I was one of the people that had to wait for that train. So I remember I experienced it firsthand. Well, luckily my sister said, you don't have to pay for this Uber. It's on me, she said. When I got to Woodside, I didn't have to wait for the bus. Like she says, I'll get this Uber the rest of the way. When you get off the subway, just get on. I'll get you the Uber. She said.
Very nice. Well, shout out to your sister for that one. And let's backtrack a little bit. We'll jump over to some baseball here, talking about the Mets. But real quick, I did want to touch on the Subway Series before we got into the Mets and the Yankees current series. So the Mets lost 2 out of 3 the first round of the Subway Series last weekend against the Yankees in the Bronx. It was an exciting series. The first 2 games were actually all 3 games were pretty good. The first game, the Yankees kind of jumped out to an early lead, and they didn't let it go. Mets ended up losing that one 6-2. Then a really, really good game 2 at Yankee Stadium. Mets won 3-2. It's about as tight as it gets. Mets won on a sac fly that had Acuna score from third base on it. And then you saw just a great moment for the season for the Mets so far in Edwin Diaz striking out Aaron Judge to end the Saturday afternoon game. And then Sunday night just didn't go the Mets' way, as they ended up losing 8-2 to the Yankees. It was closer than that most of the game. It was 2-2 going into the 8th inning, and then the Yankees just exploded for those 6 runs, highlighted by the grand slam that broke things open. But Dan, tough weekend for the Mets. They did get a nice win in there. They did lose 2 out of 3, however. What were your feelings about the first round of the Subway Series this year?
Well, I feel like that game, that Viennos era freaking cost us. I mean, I know that Pete owned the era, but he owns that. But freaking Viennos, Beatty should be at third base the rest of the way. Like, I feel like Viennos was more of a DH at this point. He's a DH. I don't know what Mendoza was thinking there.
Yeah, but I'm kind of with you on that. I think Beatty should be the go-to third baseman at this point.
Yeah, because that era just opened up the floodgates.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, I can tell you, I may have woke up the people with the cursing that was going on there. Maybe I didn't talk to any Yankee fans for 24 hours because I was sick of seeing all the texts from every Yankee fan I knew about that game.
Definitely annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting texted by a bunch of million Yankee fans. I was like, I need to see this. I had to get up really early to catch that bus to Boston on Monday. The round trip. I had to get there at 10 a.m. To pick up location. So I'm just napping on the bus. I don't know, whatever. What? Maybe watching some video. Maybe watching some videos. Probably listening to some Bandmate also. But I was just trying to get some Z's on the bus.
Yeah, man, and you did a great job making your way up there. Mets, unfortunately, take that loss at Yankee Stadium. But look, I think us as New York sports fans, Mets and Yankee fans, we know most of the time. Last year was an outlier, but last year was also one of those weird 4-game series years where they only played 4 games all year instead of 6, 2 in each ballpark. But the Mets did go 4-0 against the Yankees last year in an odd year where they both made the playoffs, but the Mets swept them. I think we all know from our history of watching these two teams that when the Mets and the Yankees are both good competitive teams, they usually end up splitting the 6 games one way or the other. I mean, it's happened many different ways. 2 out of 3 at Yankee Stadium, 2 out of 3 at Citi Field, whatever you want to say. But they usually end up sweeping. So I think as much as it sucked to lose that 2 out of 3, what it's really going to come down to is you get back to Shea Stadium. Jeez, you get back to Citi Field, and you make sure you take 2 out of 3, so you end the season at least 3-3 against the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever you do, Met fans, outnumber the Yankee fans. Do your job. Show up. And the same thing this weekend. Outnumber the fucking fake ass Dodger fans. Outnumber them. East Side bitches. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. East Coast bitches. No West Coast rap this weekend in my house. I can tell you that when we play against the Dodgers. There is no West Coast rap. Only East Coast rap in my house this weekend.
Wait, so you're telling me no corn and no West Coast rap? What are you going to do this weekend?
No, that's just it.
I know, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I just say the West Coast just affect what will be on the playlist while I'm grilling. similar to the NL during that NLCS, there was no West Coast rap on the playlist that whole time during that NLCS that we lost. So,
Yeah.
so similar thing this weekend because they get annoyed by those fake ass Dodger fans that are more annoying than the Bulls fans in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And a lot of them are front runners too. But shout out to all the people on our chat right now hanging out with us. Our buddy Mr. Smarty Pants coming in here saying looking great, Daniel. And also Dan, I did want to give this to our buddy Alvalanker, who said this is a great point by him too. The last two series, Mets lost 2 out of 3. Each time, he's right. They did it against the Red Sox. They did it against the Yankees, and the Phillies have run off 8-2 record in their last 10 now. And he's right. We have a great rivalry, and there really is going to be a race for the division this year, Dan. And it's only going to get tougher. It's going to be a 3-headed monster by the time we're done with this, because the Braves, remember that 0-7 start? Remember how bad the Braves were when they first started the year? Well, they're back over 500 now. So the Braves are right around the corner, man. They're right on our tails.
So please, we got to win 95 games to get in. That's all I ask for the Mets. Win 95 games. I feel like we're in.
Yeah, I think 95 games is a lot of wins, but I think you're right. I mean, if you win 95, you got a damn good shot at winning the division and getting in. No doubt about it. All right, let's pick up in Boston. You have anything you want to say that, Dan?
Yeah, and I also got to say, I mean, too bad it's like it's all night games. Any of the Mets road games in Phillies, because I would have grabbed the New Jersey. I would have hopped on a day trip on a New Jersey Transit to attend one of the games. But I can tell you, if I get a hold of a ride to one of those games, another Met fan or anything that wants to attend maybe one of the road games in Phillies, I will hop on. I will hop along for the ride and go. That's all I can tell you that.
Very cool. I hear you on that. And shout out to our buddy Mr. Smarty Pants coming in, giving us a super sticker for 99 cents. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
You know who else appreciates that? My mom! Woo!
You know who I feel sorry for? My mom! Oh!
All right. So we got that going on, and shout out to our buddy Mr. Smarty Pants for that. And man, so let's keep it rolling here. We got the Mets winning the finale yesterday in Boston 5-1. They salvaged the series, avoid the sweep. It was a good game too overall. The offense still, the last week or two really have not been clicking. Ever since that Cubs series, the Cubs series, the Mets scored 5+ games, all 3 games of that Cubs series. And then ever since then, the Mets offense did not score 5 runs or more in 8 straight games until last night. All 3 games against Pittsburgh, all 3 games against the Yankees, and 2 out of the 3 games against the Red Sox. So, they got into a slump. They're trying to work their way out of it. One guy we got to give a lot of credit to for the win last night too is Brett Beatty, man. Brett Beatty was on a lot of Met fan shit lists earlier this year. Mine included. I wanted to give him the chance, but with that 3-27 start, I was not too happy, or 3-4-27 start. I was not happy with Brett Beatty early on in this year, but you got to give it to the kid. He went down to the minor leagues. He did exactly what Mark Vientos was, applauded for so much last year, and rightfully so. He came back to the majors, and he has been one of the Mets, better offensive players since then, Dan. 2 for 4 yesterday, 3 RBIs, continues to solidify his spot on this team for the long term. What do you think about what Brett Beatty did so far?
I just have to fully applaud what Brett Beatty did. He just showed that tenacity to get the job done. And and rise at the top, and he's hopefully he keeps this up, then he'll be a valuable asset on this team and even next year. And
no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping for it. I mean, this is a guy I got to see. Another one of the players I got to see in the minor leagues. I saw him on the Cyclones. I saw him when he was on the Cyclones. I was there. He was part of that team that won that Cyclone team that won that championship in 2019, the NYPL championship, back when the Cyclones were a short season 18. I'm sure you remember that. You see my photos from that game.
Oh yeah, I remember them winning that. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's true. And you love, that's the thing too. Met fans, especially guys like me and you, Dan, we love to see the homegrown kids succeed.
yeah, exactly. Especially in cases like myself, when we got to see these guys in person in the minors. When you actually got to go to, like, when the affiliates and actually see them in action.
Yeah, man.
Quite a
Yeah, I
bit.
remember
So
seeing Brett Brady in spring training. As a young kid, way before he ever got a sniff of the major leagues. So yeah, it's kind of like you have a relationship or an understanding of these kids before they even break into the major leagues. So definitely want to give it to Brett Beatty. He deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done the last couple of weeks, and let's hope he keeps it up. Another guy too that me and you've been hard on at times, and understandably so, was Tyler McGill. He wasn't great yesterday. He kind of ran out of gas in the fourth inning, if you're looking at it overall. But his first couple of innings, he was pretty electric as he struck out 10 batters through his 4 2/3 inning appearance yesterday. 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run, and only a walk. He struck out 10 guys too on 85 pitches. He was getting it done pretty quickly, but he obviously gassed himself in doing that. But you got to give McGill, the fact that he put the Mets in a position to win. I feel like last week against the Yankees on that Friday night game, he buried the Mets. He had a terrible game. He didn't get out of the third inning, and he buried them. But even though he might not have had his best stuff yesterday, he definitely kept the Mets in the game.
yeah, exactly. I hadn't seen a Mets pitcher pitch like that in a while, and I feel like he would have gotten a win had a couple of key errors that cost us a couple of runs had not happened. I feel like he would have gotten that win.
Yeah, if you got a couple more outs, no doubt about it. So definitely got to give McGill that nod, no doubt about it. When it comes to the other thing, Dan, I did want to get your opinion because there were some people, I couldn't watch the Rico Bronya podcast yesterday. If you're not familiar, Rico Bronya podcast is a podcast by Evan Roberts, and he's a great Met fan and everything. He does a really good Mets podcast. If you're a Mets fan and you're into all the little details of the game and everything, I'm sure you'd love it. I couldn't listen to it yesterday because Evan is a diehard Nets fan, and just every word out of his mouth, you could just tell the joy he was experiencing because of the Knicks losing that game 1. So I couldn't bring myself to watch that. But he was one of these Met fans that had a big problem with the way that Carlos Mendoza structured the new lineup. Now, if you're not familiar, the Mets started the season by having a 1-2-3 of Francisco Lindor leading off, Juan Soto batting second, and Pete Alonso batting third. They shook it up a little bit last night, where they bumped Soto and Alonso down to the 3 and 4 holes respectively, and because they're facing a lefty, they bumped up Starlin Marte to the number 2 hole. Now, I don't have a problem with that. To be honest, for me, the 3 spots that I want locked in, that if I was the manager, this is the way I would do it. I would have Lindor locked in at 1, Soto locked in at 3, and Alonso locked in at 4. Now you can figure out who fits in the best spot. I wouldn't have put Starlin Marte in the number 2 spot because even though I do like Marte and I do think he's going to contribute eventually to this team this year on a consistent basis, he hasn't done that yet. The guy's hitting like 211. He doesn't look very good. If it was me making the lineup yesterday, I probably would have stuck Mark Vientos in that number 2 spot. But then again, you can look at the lineup and say that maybe it'd be a little thin the lower you get on past Pete Alonso. But that's the route that I probably would have gone if I was going to make the lineup yesterday. Dan, what are your thoughts on what Mendoza did, and what would you have done differently?
Well, for one thing, I feel like maybe Acuna maybe batting second. Maybe I feel like would have worked.
That's not a bad idea either, to be honest. I like that.
Yeah. That's the one thing. Another thing I think I need to be looked at really down the line. I feel like Marte is starting to show his age a little bit. Like injuries have worn him down. I feel like that maybe it starts to hopefully Mauricio is getting reps in the outfield.
Well, Ronnie Mauricio, right now he's not actually. He's not taking any reps in the outfield. They've had him play second, third, and short, but he hasn't played any outfield yet, which also isn't necessarily a bad thing because then they could always just bump Jeff McNeil up to the outfield should they need to, you know? Or even Ronnie, Acuna, who's played center field.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like they need to find a spot for Mauricio. I feel like 2 years ago he was starting to finally develop into the player we were expecting, and I feel like if it wasn't for that dumb injury, that dumb decision, he would have been on this team, maybe giving us an extra bat in that lineup. I feel like, and I feel like he has a chance if they call him up at the right time. I feel like he needs to be brought in early enough to have a chance to just get warm enough, get hot enough to that he could be a big factor down the stretch run if he gets hot enough.
Yeah, and it looks like the Mets are going to want to leave Mauricio in the minor leagues for a little bit. You heard David Stearns about a week or two ago saying that they know that he's healthy and they know he's ready to go, but they want him to be in, like, I forget the way he exactly put it, but it was basically like prime baseball shape, which I guess you could argue one way or the other if you really wanted to. I'll trust David Stearns for the moment, but when you see it, how really well Ronnie Mauricio is hitting down at AAA right now, it seems like he's getting 3 or 4 hits and hitting a home run every night at this point. He might push the Mets to make that move earlier than they'd like to.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they need to do that. I feel like also David Stearns needs to recognize that you're wasting bullets on these players being in the minors already. I don't know. The same thing maybe potentially how Brandon Stout is doing. I feel like he needs to be up early in the second half at least, so he could get acclimated to it in time for the potentially in the stretch run. Because I feel like if he gets called up, he could be a big factor. You want to put all hands on deck by the time he gets to that stretch run.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. You're definitely right about that. And that's what it's going to come down to. Some of these prospects are going to debut with the major leagues at some point this year. We already saw Blade Tidwell make his major league debut in St. Louis earlier this year. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, man. Hey, that's all about being a major league team. You got to have that depth, and the Mets do have a pretty decent depth right now. You got to give Stearns and even the previous GMs who drafted a lot of these guys credit for that. Real quick, Dan, too, before we wrap up on the Mets here, are you worried about Juan Soto at all? I mean, me and you have been downplaying it for a couple of weeks now, and rightfully so. I think even at this moment, I still think a lot of the concern about Juan Soto is way overblown. I mean, if you fast forward, if you rewound back a year, ago to this exact date, Francisco Lindor wasn't even hitting 200 at this point. He was on the interstate hitting about 180 something, and people were sick of the guy not producing early in the year. And a year later, he's a beloved Met he's beyond reproach at this point. So it just goes to show how quickly things can change. Juan Soto is gonna heat up at some point, but I gotta say, for the first time yesterday, I started getting a little bit concerned, and I think it was just in the moment. I still think he's going to turn it around and have a big year and be a big contributor to the Mets going forward. But when he's sitting there, this is a guy that has some of the best strike zone recognition in the sport, and when he's sitting there and he watches 3 pitches go right down the middle, 1, 2, 3, and doesn't even take the bat off his shoulder, that was a little worrying to me, and it definitely made me a little bit uncomfortable. I heard some people speculating that maybe he had a hard time picking up the ball at a Garrett Crochet's hand, who's a really tough lefty, and he's got a kind of quirky wind up and hides the ball until the last second. So maybe Soto was having problems picking that up. But it's not like Soto's never faced a tough lefty before. So seeing him take those pitches early on in that game, and it wasn't just one at bat either, was a little concerning. What do you think now, Dan?
I think maybe he needs to maybe have Lindor maybe talk to him a little bit, because I feel like they need to help him get through this, because he's getting through the pressure of wearing the Mets uniform. I feel like maybe even Piazza said it. He just had to just calm down and slow it down, and let it come to him. Like don't let it. He said he didn't let it eat him up. And eventually Piazza got going, and he became the star we all remembered. And his numbers hanging up there with the retired numbers. And Soto maybe needs to take that advice and maybe do the same thing. Not let it eat him up. Just get through it. Drown out everything, and do that, Matt. Who knows? Maybe try some wax on, wax off. I don't know, but something to get it done.
Yeah, well, I mean, Piazza would know best. You're right about that. Guy was getting booed pretty early on in his Mets tenure, and for a guy, when you look at Piazza's number from '98, the first year he got traded there, which, by the way, actually, oddly enough, as we're talking about Mike Piazza, today is May 22nd. So today is actually the 27-year anniversary of Mike Piazza getting traded to the Mets. Now, we remember he made his debut the next day against the Brewers. He hit the double and reached third on the throw off Jeff Juden. And Al Leiter was pitching that day. So everything was working well for the Mets that day. And you'd think Mike Piazza had that nice debut. He went out his first season as a Met and hit 348. People forget that. For the Mets in 1998, Mike Piazza hit 348 and got booed. Like, it's crazy to think he actually got booed. Now, obviously, he heated up, and he was kind of struggling a little bit prior to that, which is why Met fans were booing. But, it just goes to show, man, it takes people a little bit of time to get acclimated to their new surroundings. And Juan Soto's no different. I was just reading a piece by Pedro Martinez where he was giving some advice, because he said, to be honest, I wasn't even sure if he was referring to himself as a Met in 2005 or as a Red Sox when he first joined that team back in 1998. But he was talking about how he remembers how he was one of the highest paid players at the time, and how it affected him and it put a lot of pressure on him. And guys all react different. We remember Carlos Beltran, that first year he had here. And, not everybody is Yoenis Cespedes that comes in and goes on a tear the way he did. So, I think it's going to take some patience, but I think Juan Soto will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the same thing you said, Pedro Martinez, another one. He played in a team with a high pressure situation, right? He played for a team that had a long championship drought that at the time hadn't been ended yet, and he ended up not only turning out fine, he was part of a team that ended an 86-year championship drought.
It's true.
And
you're right, man.
And that's another thing that Juan Soto could lean on to, and a couple of Met legends, Mike Piazza and Carlos Beltran. By the way, that Piazza debut, I ended up being at that game, and I remember. I don't think I got wind of it, but I remember I'm about to attend that game, and I think my uncle or something called me, and it's an uncle that's a Yankees fan, but he must have heard it on the radio or something. He says, "Dude, you guys got Mike Piazza. Yeah, you guys got me. Yeah, you guys don't. You guys got Mike Piazza. He called a teenage me to tell me that."
Yeah. I remember hearing it on Mike and the Mad Dog the day it happened.
Yeah. He was, all right, it was a call on a landline, by the way. I bet this was 98.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I was a teenager and I get this call that Mets got Mike Piazza, and I think like sometime in 1999 I bought that Mike Piazza jersey, that black Mike Piazza jersey. I bought that at Modell's, so it's like, and that jersey still fits me, and I'm actually gonna wear that I'm gonna wear that. I actually got a signed baseball from Piazza that was a gift to me when I graduated high school. But I'm also gonna try to get him to sign this poster remember that poster the Mets gave out when they retired his number?
Yeah, the 31.
Yeah, he's doing a signing at this Mets pop-up store that he set up in Union Square. I'm gonna go to get Piazza to autograph it.
Very nice, very nice, man.
To try to get Piazza to autograph the poster that they gave out the day they retired his number. You remember the poster? It looked like a giant baseball card. Really cool design.
Yeah.
It's a really cool design. I don't know if you have a poster like that yourself.
Yeah, I was at that game. Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. So you have that poster. So you know how awesome design that poster was. That the way they made it look like a baseball card. It was just such a cool design that I thought it'd be cool to I thought it'd be cool to one day have Mike Piazza autograph that poster. That's how cool it was. I thought.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
I'll actually have a hopefully if all goes as planned. I'll have a copy of that poster in my collection, framed for anyone who visits my place to see, signed by Piazza himself, signed by the Mets legend himself, which would be pretty cool to have that. One of the coolest posters I've seen given away at a sporting event, signed by Piazza.
Very nice, man. So, so now tomorrow, now we got the Yankees and the Red Sox in the rearview mirror. Mets kick off a 3-game series, which is why you were swearing off West Coast rap earlier. The Mets and the LA Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, future Hall of Famer. This will be his second start of the year. He made his first start 5 days ago, obviously, and got knocked around a little bit, but makes sense. This is the guy's debut, and they kind of rushed him back. And now he's going against Griffin Canning tomorrow. So Canning is really being tested his last 2 outings, Dan. He got to face a tough Yankee lineup and succeeded, and now he's going to be facing an even tougher LA Dodgers lineup tomorrow. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this kid handles it.
Yeah. Or I should say, quote unquote, because we're not going to be able to see that game because of the dumb Apple TV deal.
Oh, do me a favor. Do me a favor. You will be able to watch the game tomorrow. Text me before the game starts, and I will send you a link to a website that you'll be able to watch it for free.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make sure. I'll make sure to let you know that, because I gotta find a way to watch this game.
So anybody here watching this right now, the 90 so odd people we have watching with us right now between Twitter and YouTube, this secret is between you and us. We don't rat us out to Major League Baseball or anything.
Yeah, please. Besides, we didn't say any information where or anything like that. Exactly, please, and don't cause us to get beat by that abusive Batman in that video. You've seen those videos I sent you with that character Gavin Blake on Twitter. So it's something
yes.
He does those videos with that abusive Batman. Last thing I want to see is get beat up. He says, he and all of a sudden he uses a baseball pun before he beats the shit out of me. For because that's how I know how to. Watched enough of those videos to know how he would probably use a baseball pun before beating his shit out of me, and the video would be titled when you pirate a baseball game in Gotham.
Yeah, that's true. It looked like one of those superhuman videos,
Yeah, actually, the superhuman videos are a whole different thing. That's more.
He beats himself up.
Yeah. That's a guy beating himself up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
exactly.
We would love to have that guy on the show. I love that guy. I'm a fan of Superhuman 1, 2, 3, 4. I love watching his videos. Sometimes I've joked around and maybe chugged the beer and yelled out whoop whoop, because I love those. I love watching Superhuman 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to meet the guy one day. Get a photo with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Open invite to the great Superhuman. Oh, whoops. All right, Dan, let's switch over to the Yankees now as we round the show out here. Now, the Yankees just completed a 3-game sweep of the Texas Rangers after taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets. So the Yankees over the last 6 games are 5-1. They're doing pretty good. To me, right now, Yankees are still the best team in the American League. I don't care what anybody says, even without Garrett Cole and Juan Soto, which is pretty crazy to think about. The Yankees are still considered the best team in the American League, even without those two guys. But
Well,
just goes to show that, how good this team is. And even though they only scored 1 run today, the Yankees won, which they don't do too often. The Yankees usually need to have their bats backing them up, and they sweep the Rangers with a 1-0 win as Carlos Rodon outduels Nate Eovaldi at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, that is crazy. Of course, also I do got to get credit. I feel like the Yankees are facing again. The American League looks weak. That I feel like the Yankees have the easiest road of any team in MLB to.
Yeah, but you got to give the Yankees credit. You can't be sitting here and saying they just beat the Texas Rangers, who are a very good team. They beat Patrick Corbin on Monday, who has been crap for the last 5 years, but he's actually had a very good year this year. They beat Jacob deGrom on Wednesday night at Yankee Stadium, and then they beat Nate Eovaldi, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball today. So look, we can say all the things we want about the Yankees, but they kicked ass the last couple of days. We got to give them credit for it.
Yeah, I got to give credit to that too, even though I don't feel like how much the Yankees actually beat deGrom, because that was clearly a deGrom outing we remember all too well during his time with the Mets. Pitch really well, get a no decision. Sometimes the team doesn't even win. This was exactly what we saw a lot. What I saw a lot, and the crazy part is, actually, I still got to update the career strikeout. We still miss Jacob deGrom. I was still updating. I got to update the strikeout counter on this bobblehead that they gave out. You could update the career strikeouts.
Yeah,
I gotta update that. I gotta update the strikeout counter on that bobblehead. Career strikeouts.
Yeah, so,
I gotta update it.
Yeah, deGrom had a good game, man. He 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 9 Ks, and he looks like the old deGrom, and it breaks my heart. And I don't know. I think you're more on the more friendly side of this than me, Dan. But I hold nothing like Jacob deGrom. People talk about, his number is going to get retired with the Mets. I don't want Jacob deGrom's number retired for the Mets. I enjoyed watching him pitch. He was one of my favorite pitchers to watch. He said he wanted to be a Met for his life, and then he stabbed us in the back and went to the Texas Rangers. And yeah, he won 2 Cy Youngs. If Jacob deGrom was part of a championship team with the Mets, I'd say, you know what? Let bygones be bygones. His number should be retired. But he never won a ring here. He won a couple of Cy Youngs, but what the hell does that matter? They didn't win the thing that matters. So I don't know. I'm not on the fence about it. I don't want deGrom's number retired. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind if they induct him into the Mets Hall of Fame. He's rightfully earned that.
I agree.
As far as they see that, I have no problem with if they want to induct him in it, but don't retire his number unless, and this is probably a big stretch, but unless somehow I get some news that there's a flight to LaGuardia Airport that Jacob deGrom is aboard, and he's there's the pitcher who's starting for the Mets that day. All of a sudden hearing Symbol Man playing in the speakers, and he's wearing our uniform again. Unless that happens, that is maybe one way I would make an exception if that happened.
I'm with you on that. And I would love to see him come back to the Mets one day. But you know what, though? I do got to agree with our buddy Alvalanker here, who chimes in and says that I'd rather have the massive Soto contract than a massive deGrom contract. And I'll always miss him, of course. And he's right about that. I will always miss Jacob deGrom. I'm totally with you on that. And if I had to choose between having the massive Soto contract or the massive deGrom contract, you got to choose Soto. The guy's a position player that is 26 years old. It'd be ridiculous to say you'd rather have the deGrom contract. However, the one caveat I will say is that we got the richest owners in sports. We could probably afford both if they really wanted to. But I understand why they didn't.
Yeah. Another thing I found out something interesting on the news. Speaking of the visiting team this week in the Dodgers, that pitcher that we were hoping to get during the offseason, I forgot his name, but
Who, Sandy Alcantara? You thinking who?
No, that Japanese pitcher on the Dodgers, I forget his name.
Roki Sasaki.
Yeah, I heard one of the factors for him signing with the Dodgers was because the Dodgers were willing to build put one of those fancy Japanese toilets in the player's bathroom. What the heck? Was that the reason why? Steve Cohen could have built that. Steve Cohen could have done that. He's got the money for that. He could have paid for it with his own pocket.
I would have given him a whole fleet of Japanese toilets if he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a little recommendation to Steve Cohen, maybe so this doesn't happen again, and maybe if it helps, maybe if there's some Japanese player that's gonna maybe put the bets over the top to get him to come out Citi Field. Maybe put some of those fancy Japanese toilets in the player's bathroom. Just saying. Maybe actually, yeah, maybe do that. If we're gonna have to outdo the Dodgers in recruiting these guys, maybe that's a good idea. And I can tell you, I tried the guest one time when Chip Chipperson was filmed in Gas. They when the last time Chip Chipperson show was a thing, they were filming in the Gas Digital Studios. They have one of those toilets in the bathroom.
Do they really?
I actually tried it out. It seems like a pretty neat product. I see why the Japanese love this product because it's they're a freaking good toilet, and they had the instructions translated into English. And I just cool. I says, yeah, I see why they love these. I see why they freaking love these toilets over there. I mean, I have to admit, if I had Steve Cohen money, I'd put one of those things in my house.
You put one in every room.
Well, I don't know if I need one in every room. Just one in the bathroom. I don't need to go over exaggerate like that South Park episode. But
yeah, you have one in the kitchen. You have one in the living room. You have one in your bedroom.
But yeah, I see why they seem to know how to make a pretty good toilet. I got to give credit to that.
All right, shout out to Japanese toilets. Man, we've been all over the place in this episode today. But a couple more things on the Yankees before we close this out here. As I gotta say, man, Devin Williams, the guy who Pete Alonso KO'd out of the playoffs last year in Milwaukee. The Yankees supposed to be star closer coming into this year, had a really bad start, but he's been starting to get his feet back on the ground. He's been doing a really good job for the Yankees the last week or two, working more in a setup role. And the thing is, though, Dan, the Yankees are going to be getting themselves into a situation now where they might, and Devin Williams won't be happy about this because he's a free agent after this year. So he wants to build up his value as much as possible. And it's going to be tough for him to wrestle that closer's job away from Luke Weaver right now, who is dominating in that role for the New York Yankees. He's got a 0.40 ERA this year. To go along with his 7 saves. So, what do you think, Dan? I mean, it would be a mistake, in my opinion, for the Yankees to just default and give the closer's role back to Devin Williams.
Yeah, I feel like the Yankees maybe need to ride the hot hand in this. Probably the best bet is to just ride the hot hand.
Yeah, which Williams might not be happy about, but it's his own fault. He started off so bad, the Yankees couldn't keep him in that role if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's his fault. They need to keep it up. They need to understand that it's no hard feelings, but they want to have the best outcome possible, and they need to. And their chances are better right now. Right, they're going to ride the hot hand. Just accept it. That's you really have to be a team player.
Yeah, it's true. That's the
key. That's the key to every great team. Is it's got to be a team player. Accept it. That's all you could do.
True.
You ran yourself out of the closer's job. You did it. So own up to it.
That's right, man. Very well said. And now the Yankees just wrapped up that homestand where they ended up a very successful 5-1 at the end there. And they're going to be heading out west again, though, heading out to Colorado. And it's a good time to be going out to Colorado because the Colorado Rockies absolutely stink. They are the Chicago White Sox of last year. The Clark Schmidt is taking the hill for the Yankees tomorrow. Brings his 1-1 record, 4.41 ERA. He pitched a decent game against the Mets last week. And he's going to be taking on Colorado, who's got the good old TBD, to be determined, on the mound for them tomorrow. Still haven't named their starter for the opener of that series. That's going to be kicking off at 8:40 tomorrow night. And yeah.
So it's pretty much they got to now they have to keep going and they take advantage of it.
Look at the disparity, Dan. Look at the disparity of these records. The Yankees, I put this up here just because it's so ridiculous. We are not even at Memorial Day yet, and the Yankees are 22 games better than the Rockies. It's absolutely ridiculous. Actually, 22 and a half, now I look at it. And the Rockies have only won 8 of their first 50 games. The Yankees are 39-19. They'll be playing their 50th game tomorrow night at Coors Field. But, I mean, the Yankees should come away with an easy sweep. But, I mean, look, baseball is not that easy. We all know that weird things happen at times, especially in Colorado. So, I mean, you have to go in just hoping to take 2 out of 3, but get greedy. If you win the first 2 of that series, go into Sunday's game looking to smash this team and give them another series sweep, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's what they need to do. They need to have their foot on the gas and keep this up. And also, especially the fact they're playing against a Rockies team that looks like they're going for a number 1 draft pick. Actually, did they even finish in the top 10 in worst records last year? Because I know how that works. They'd be ineligible for the number 1 draft last year. Where they place in worst records?
I'm not sure. Let me see where they were.
Because I know there's those weird rules that they
Rockies. Well, they lost 100 games last year, so they were 61-101. I don't know where they were for the full season, but they definitely were near the bottom, no doubt about it.
Yeah, but would they be? Because I know there's like a whole thing about that you can't. I think it's like top 5. If you have a top 5, you can't have 2 top 5 draft picks 2 years in a row. But I think they're going. I think they could be going to face for the number 1 draft pick, because we all know that's why. For those who don't know, that's why the White Sox didn't get the number 1 draft pick last year.
Which is so stupid, by the way, too. They're putting all these things on here to try and stop tanking. These teams in like baseball, you know, you can't tank like that. You know what I mean? They put all these special things in there to try and screw over these teams that are having bad records. You know, if anybody deserved the number 1 pick after last year, say what you want. It's the Chicago freaking White Sox. So far, through 50 games this year, if anybody deserves a number 1 pick or the top 5 pick, it should be the Colorado Rockies. And, you know, it's just ridiculous that they it's just another stupid Rob Manfred rule. This guy has done more destruction to the game of baseball over the last 10 years than anybody I've ever seen. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then the other thing, of course, we all know what Pete Rose recently reinstated. But that's against the whole thing.
Point, yeah.
It's ironic that this happened. It's ironic that this happens now, when all of a sudden you could have done it when he was alive, because people probably use sports betting sites advertising things. As a matter of fact, some local sports networks, I think a company that owns some local sports networks sold the naming rights to their local sports networks they own to a sports gambling site.
Yeah, and that's all you see these days. SNY, ESPN, Yes Network, all these different places are promoting these betting apps and these betting scenarios and everything. And we're going to sit here and still look at Pete Rose like he's the worst fucking person in the world because he bet, never against his team. That's been proven. They have the bet slips. He never bet against his team. And you're going to tell me, and I saw guys like Bob Nightingale from USA Today, these media guys, who were saying, well, now that you did this and you're going to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame and shoeless Joe Jackson, who, by the way, only had like a 340 career batting average, you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to compare those two guys to guys like Barry Bonds and Jason Giambi and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and Alex Rodriguez, who all deliberately cheated the game and used performance enhancing drugs to increase their stats. That Pete Rose never got a hit that was a fraudulent, hit because he was on some kind of steroid or anything like that. He didn't use a corked bat or anything like that. Every hit that guy got in his career, all 4,000 plus of them, was legitimate, unlike what Barry Bonds did at the end of his career, unlike what all these other stiffs that cheated in the steroid era did. And I'm not one of these guys that has come around and forgot about that yet. There's a lot of people out there that want to act like the steroid era never happened and you should just let these guys in. I'm not one of them. They cheated.
It happened, and it made me regret holding on to I feel like I held onto the McGwire rookie card way too long because I realized I had a McGwire rookie card, and I says, "Oh shit, I gotta hold on to this because of the home run race was just such a big thing in '98." And then to realize,
yeah, well, you should have sold it in '98. You would have made a lot of money then.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this, and
yeah.
Then now I'm stuck with this McGwire rookie card. Because we bought too many of them. Didn't think this whole thing was gonna pan out the way it did. So we're stuck with a warehouse full of them. So we're sending it to you with your order. but
exactly. Gem Mint 10.
Exactly. I got a Gem Mint 10. Anthony thought that was funny when I told him I actually have a McGwire rookie card. The fact I realized I have this just makes me think of that. I said your voice doing that Don West.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still got this thing, and I don't think it would go for a lot as it did before the steroid thing leaked. Exactly. Because before that steroid thing leaked, if there was never steroids, if that thing would have been legit. That '98 home run race was like a big thing. It was like one of the biggest things in sports history that time. Like people remember hearing about it all over the place. ESPN kept updating it during Sports Center and whatever they were showing. I was watching a NASCAR race and he interrupted the race to my displeasure every time McGwire hit a home run. Even though I didn't care about it, like I said, if I wanted to care about this, I would have been watching this game. Like, I want to watch a race, and they're interrupting it because for a couple of minutes just to show this home run that McGwire hit. They kept doing it. They kept doing that every time McGwire was at bat. By the way,
I was the complete opposite. In '98. I was a big Mark McGwire fan, and I was totally all in on that home run chase and. I wanted to see every at-bat they wanted to show. I could not love it anymore. I was all about it back then. But, unfortunately, didn't work out. But
yeah, exactly. And I just end up with this card this card that turned out to be fool's gold.
And now it just looks like you have a card of a muscly East Side Dave.
Yeah. Pretty much describes the McGwire rookie card that I got in my possession. Though I just still think it's funny just that I have this just because it's such a reference to one of Anthony's iconic impressions. That
exactly.
I think it'd just be funny one day to get McGwire to sign this and give this to Anthony and just so I can see his reaction to him.
You should.
Yeah. I don't know, because I know McGwire charges a shit ton of money for his autograph. But one of these days, it'd be funny to have McGwire autograph this card and give this Gen Mint 10 rookie card to Anthony, just so he can do just to see Anthony do the impression when he has this card in his possession would be hilarious.
That's right, buddy. And you know what? I think actually on that note, I think that's going to do it for us today. We got nothing else to get into. We're just about done here. Before we get out of here, Dan, do you have anything like to plug for yourself?
Sure. My Twitter account, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo718DK. Definitely check out our show, watch our show, check out my YouTube. I'll be filming a couple I'll be filling trackside minute. I've been doing stuff a couple of days and get around to watching the latest race, but I'll be watching that, updating the last three races that happened on trackside minute, talking about what was going on in the NASCAR Cup Series on trackside minute, which you'll see on Patreon. So be on the lookout for that on our Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon, $5. Also, you get early access to our YouTube videos and our Patreon exclusive show on Sunday. It's a nice little bit of extras. All for $5, and you don't have to worry about running out, because if you subscribe, you get access to these extras. Unlike some of these giveaways they do at the Met games, like these bobbleheads, you got to wait online like 2 hours before the gates open to get the giveaway. This, if you subscribe to our Patreon, you get the extras. You get the extras.
Right. That's right. So thank you so much to everybody for hanging out with us here tonight. Don't forget, like Dan just said, if you want to, you can check us out on patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. We appreciate everybody that's already taken the plunge and signed up with us. And even more, we appreciate everybody that's hanging out with us here tonight on this Thursday night as we're doing the show. Thank you, everybody that was chatting in the chat with us. And we appreciate all the support. So for my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Carlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. And we'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Sunday.
I was